Okay, so for this video, we're going to go over some examples on naming these opposite rays and giving some other names for rays and such like that. So for this first one, I have this figure on this left-hand side and it asked me to give another name for GH. So I went ahead and drew this a little bit so we can see that arrow up on top. So I want to give another name for that ray. So I have this ray. My endpoint is G, and it continues all the way that way. And I know my endpoint is G because it's the very first letter in this GH. And it's matching up with this endpoint on top here. So I still need that same endpoint when I'm renaming this. But if you remember from when we were talking about lines, I could pick any 2 points on that line to name it. Well, another point on this ray is J. So I can use that letter there as well. And I see, even if I had it as this, it's still going to go on forever that way, so it's still going to hit that H. Okay, now this next one says to name all rays with endpoint J. And then I want to figure out which of these rays are opposite rays. Well, remember, the opposite rays are ones that create a line. They're all in line together. So one that we see right away is kind of the one we already have here. So I could have, let me erase that. I could have JH. And again, when I'm putting this arrow on top, it's important that my endpoint is first, because that's my endpoint J. Well, what would be opposite of it? It's the one that's going to create a line with it. So I could have JG. And so these ones will be opposite rays. Okay, well, I still have this whole other line that's going through here. So another endpoint that I could have, or ray with endpoint J, is JE. And the opposite ray for that is the one that's just going to be right in line with it. So that's going to be JF. And those are opposite rays as well. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try this next one on your own. And once you think you have it, press play and see how you did. Okay, so these are the answers that you should have come up with when you were doing these on your own. So the first one asked you to give another name for KL. So I'm looking at this ray right here. Well, like we did up above, I can just pick a different point that's on there and still have it go forever that direction. So I did KP. Okay, and then for that next one, I asked you a little bit different of a question. It first asked, is KP and PK the same ray? I automatically could tell that it was not because they have different endpoints. They should be starting with the same letter. And if I were just to look at the picture, KP, that's going to be that ray right there, where PK, that's going in that direction. So they're not going to be the same ray. Okay, but now for that next one, it says NP and NM, are they the same ray? Well, first off, they do have the same endpoint, so that's a good sign. Now I need to see if they're going the same direction. So NP, well, P's right there, so NP is just going to go all the way that way. Well, and then NM, M is on that same line, so it's also going to go all the way that way. So those were the same ray. Okay, that's it for this video. Go on to the next one to learn about intersection.